Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Ionan's Edge. Today's review is going to be on the Giant Mouse Ace Corta in all black. This is an Apex Group pass-around knife review, so I haven't had a ton of time with this knife. Our time with them is limited. So let's just jump right in with some basic specs. So we have Bowler M390 blade steel on a flat grind. They also call this a flat saber grind, and it is on what is closest, or what properly should be called, a straight back blade style. But you can see it doesn't really drop here. It goes straight across the top, and then it leads kind of a fang look to the blade. It is running on full ball bearings. We've got full 420 stainless liners that are nested. They're being nested by this beautiful layer contoured G10. When I say layer contoured, I mean because it has multiple layers and reliefs cut into it. I really, really dig this kind of G10. I'm a fan of this. It's starting to show up on more and more knives, and I think this is only going to improve ergonomics for us folks in the knife community. This is a good medium-sized everyday carry knife, and I really did enjoy my time with this knife so far. I like the fact that, again, it's got the layered contour G10. There's a gorgeous bead blasted backspacer on this knife, a solid usable rear pocket clip that is reversible left or right. I'm actually a fan of the wire clips for everyday carry. They don't catch on things. There's not as many sharp edges on these. Some of my other knives, when I go to get in one of my vehicles, particularly my wife's car, I find that when I go to slide in, sometimes the pocket clip will rub up against the bottom of the steering wheel, and that will cause me to kind of scrape the things that I rub up against. That doesn't happen with the wire ones, so I do like the pocket clips on these. So this flat saber grind, it really surprises you with its cutting ability. I was pretty pleasantly surprised by how well this knife cut. The M390 blade steel held up really well, performed perfectly, and the coating that they put on this, I'm not exactly sure what it is. It seems like it's a DLC coating, which I love. I did cut some cardboard and some other things up with it. Didn't want to too heavily use the knife since it is a pass-around knife. But what I found is, typical of these coatings, is after I was done, I just put a little bit of rem oil on the blade, rubbed it with my finger and wiped it off, and voila, just like some of the other DLC coated blades I've run into, it looks like brand new. So the knife carries like a dream for EDC, and since it's OEM by Riat, its fit and finish is top notch. This knife fires out there satisfyingly every time. It is a liner lock, and it is only deployed by use of a flipper tab. But again, it's a very fun knife to flip out there. I really wouldn't say it's super fidgety. So if you're looking for that, this is probably not the knife for you, although it is brand new, and it probably will break in more after it's been handled and opened and closed a few hundred more times. The brass backspacer, I love. First of all, it just sets the whole knife design off, but also it adds a proper amount of weight to this knife. The knife feels like it's got the right amount of weight for this size in hand. And surprisingly, that was something I found very pleasant about actually holding it and cutting with it, besides the good ergos. My dislikes are very few. So because of this brass backspacer I mentioned, which does add a meaningful amount of weight to the knife, but in a very, very positive way, the knife is not well balanced. The balance point is just here in front of the backspacer. So the knife is noticeably handle heavy. But the ergos on this knife are so good when you hold it. It feels just right with this contouring on the G10 in your hand, and it has a decent thickness to it and a good amount of weight, which rests right here, kind of, in the palm of your hand. The knife feels good despite that. It really, really does feel good despite that. And I can't really describe it, but it just has a really nice feel to it when you are cutting things up with it. So the ergos are great. The weight is great. The balance is definitely back. It's definitely handle heavy. But I find that in this particular instance, that trade-off is totally appropriate because the knife has just the right feel in hand, just the right amount of weight to it. There are no hot spots. It feels really good. But again, it's a medium, okay? It's not for people with big, gigantic hands because this is going to be your primary grip with your thumb here, and it does rest pretty close to the jimping. That brings me to my second small thing. Not everybody has the same size hands. So you gave me a tiny bit of jimping there, about maybe what? I don't know, 5/8 of an inch, something like that. I would have loved to have seen this jimping brought back and forward, say 1/4 of an inch. Just give me a little bigger area here to really get on this knife. If I really want to choke up on it, I want to be able to do that and still put my hand on some jimping. In the main position, feels wonderful. It's a very, very tiny thing. It's one of those things that, I just kind of wish they'd jimped a little bit more of the spine. But overall, this thing is immaculate. This is a really cool knife. And I only have those two little itty bitty teeny weeny things to say bad about the knife. So there you go. Let's do a couple of size comparisons real quick. All right. So here is the Corta, and here is a Hogue Deca Gen 2. And you can see they are very similar in size, right? The Corta is a little bit thicker in the handle area, not drastically, but your width is a little bit thicker. But boy, they're about the same size knife. I will say the Corta feels a little more substantial in hand than the Deca does, and as it should be. I think that is intentionally designed that way, but you can kind of see where you're at there with that. That's a pretty good matchup. Another knife that a lot of people love and some people have in their collection, this is a TRM Atom. And you can see the Atom is a longer knife, but it's also a thinner knife profile-wise from side to side this way. The thickness of this knife is way thinner than it is on the Corta. So I wouldn't say that the Corta is a big knife. Again, I would say it's a schmedium. And if this is one of your preferred pocket carry sizes, you're going to freaking love this knife. Because personally, myself, at $190, this is a well-designed and finely executed knife build. It's a Riat knife, so obviously the fit and finish and the quality control on these knives is very good. It's smooth, but not super fidgety. But again, I don't know how much break-in the knife has had. I plan on adding this exact version right here to my knife collection. And I think if you're interested in this size knife, you should too. This is the Ace Corta by Giant Mouse. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, hit that like button for me. Consider subscribing so you'll get all future content notifications. I thank you as always for watching, folks, and stay sharp.